my oldest is washing dishes. And so these are your standards, and this is where they use this document, and they also use your the TEKS, right? And that is what creates the exam. There's nothing extra, nothing more, no secrets, no everything is in the standards, and it's also in those TEKS. The TEKS are what we use to create our objectives for the lessons. So depending on their grade level, they have different TEKS. They have different objectives. We need them to learn different skills at different times. When they're in kindergarten, of course, we're not going to be doing complex movement type activities or even skill building at that moment. One of the first things that we do is about spacing and about balance and movement and self-awareness to begin to get them. Yes, you can. My daughter my second grader, can I have a pop? She means a popsicle, a paleta.
It's okay. I have two little ones also. I have a first grader and a fourth grader.
Oh, that's awesome. I have a first grader, a second grader, a ninth grader, a 12th grader, and a soon to be college student. So he just graduated and he's going to start in the spring. So it's busy.
I actually work at the school. So
that's so awesome.
So I'm here stuck till from 4 to 4:45 waiting for them to get out of their after school programs, UIL and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I never taught on the same campus as my kids. I always wanted to, though. In fact, with the little ones now, I'm thinking like maybe I should go get my EC through 6 and be an EC6 teacher. I want to
EC6 and I passed the core, but it was that science of teaching reading that just got me.
Right. Absolutely. That's nice. Science of teaching reading is challenging, but you can totally do it. I mean, it's doable. You just have to know what to study. So looking at this, and I know that you understand a lot of that stuff having to do, and there's a lot of overlap, but with the movements, safe movements, what is important on the exam, and what I'm sure you notice, is that they ask specifics about some of the more uncommon sports, right? So not necessarily football or not necessarily basketball or volleyball, but they might ask you about or give to you, for example, the type of breaststroke that a student's doing and what movements they're doing and how you would correct it, like what would be the correction that you would give. And so knowing what sports are available to our students, and then sort of the basics in those is important as well. I haven't seen the 240 tutoring for PE, so I don't know how in depth it goes over that, but making sure that you have looked through each of the TEKS and that you feel really familiar with it, because if they have to know it and or do it, then that was wrong. Then we have to also know it, know how to do it, and then be able to model it for them, to be able to critique and instruct proper form, proper safety, and so on and so forth. So understanding the TEKS, and you don't have to have them memorized at all. No one does that.
When I took the exam, there was questions about respiratory systems and stuff like that. And then there was questions about what kind of group teaching you would do. Like one of them was a round robin.
Yeah, round robin. That's like a particular strategy that you would use to go around and get different people's opinions or answers. Let me try to go to where in one of them, and I don't know at what grade level it starts, but it starts pretty. Let's go to the health area. So here, health, this is for first grade. So each of these movement patterns, movement skills, locomotors, non-locomotor skills, those are going to be standards within the other document that we were looking at, and things that you have to be able to do within those concepts. These are the things that the students need to be able to do. at the first grade, as far as movement patterns, they need to demonstrate key elements of catching an accurately and softly thrown large ball and a self-tossed object. That's something you have to view them doing and master in this grade level in order for them to, to have met the expectations that the state has, each and every one of these. Now, you might be able to view them doing many of these things in a particular activity. And as you're going, you're going to continue to view and assess their skill level as they develop through the different grade levels. Let me look for health. Physically literate student demonstrates and recognizes a health enhancing, physically active lifestyle. They're expected to identify the immediate effect of physical activity on the heart and lungs. And so I don't know at what grade level it is, but then there's one portion of it where it's like, not only are they talking about, physical activity being good for your lungs, they're really talking the nitty gritty, like the science of it. This is what happens when you do physical activity. You breathe in more oxygen, your heart increases. And so your body's taking oxygen to the rest of your muscles, to everywhere, moving super fast. But I don't know at what grade level that is, but you certainly need to know exactly at what grade level that is, that they should be learning that particular knowledge. And so what I would do in order to study because like I said, I am going to open the exam for you, but I would like for you to do, as I said, print out your standards. And it's that terrible, ugly document. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why it's like that. It's the only content area that has that. It's not the final document. But then also go through your TEKS and do a deep dive. And you don't have to do a whole bunch, but at least like one sticky pad for kindergarten, and under the main strands for PE and our main goals, what are they trying to do, and how does it change from kinder to first, and from first to second to third? And you don't have to write that down or write it out, but I would like for you to think about it. Like, what is the vast difference? And you'll see that it goes and follows almost hand in hand with normal human growth and development. We don't ask the kindergartners to do things where they have to do multiple steps and alternate feet and try to, do I don't know anything to tell you in particular, or like an overhand serve in tennis. We wouldn't try to make students do an overhand serve. In fact, while they're a certain age, we have them do the side serve because it's easier for them. So just understanding that the TEKS have overarching goals. And then in order to achieve those goals, we teach them knowledge and we model and give them opportunities to practice skills. And those skills are built among common strands all throughout, so that in order to achieve that overall goal. And for PE, it is, this is a concept map that somebody did, for their studying of the breakdown of the TEKS, like for the overarching goal for the content area. Personal skills, interpersonal skills, those are goals of the PE program. Healthy living, movement, active living. There's other things that are not on there that you could add to it, but even creating something like this out of your TEKS, or creating something like this out of your standards, is a good sort of studying tool. And that way, when you're reading, you see the different questions about the different sports or the different activities, you can ask yourself, which one of these would best achieve the goal the state has, and which one of these would best address the things that I'm supposed to be doing in the classroom with students.
Okay.
So we're supposed to be varying our grouping. So it's not just whole group instruction unless you have teams. You want, for even your PE students in elementary, we want to do cross-curricular things. So if you gave them a piece of paper and pencils and had them write out, vocabulary words that you went over before you did your movement activities, and you told them to write about it. Maybe you were talking about what's a term that you use with throwing, like
Tossing,
tossing, or like
hand
trying to
throw,
overhand
underhand.
throw? Yeah, underhand throw, overhand throw, anything that you would define in your classroom, because you would define things like balance, like what is balance, right? And so maybe you ask them a question about balance, have them write about it, then have them talk to their peer next, think, pair, share, turn to your partner and discuss your answer with your partner, and then come back and ask them questions. We want the students to be talking about the ideas that you're teaching them in the classroom, especially if it deals with like health, especially if it deals with social emotional learning. We want to give them, and anytime it deals with any sort of direct instruction from the PE teacher, we want to give them opportunities to think critically, to write about the questions that we ask them, and to practice talking about new ideas.
I also had one question about safety. They do stuff for safety. I had one question about
Absolutely.
if a coach puts a wrestling student who weighs 200 pounds with a wrestling student who's 130 pounds, what is the best answer for who he's pairing them with? And it says the lighter one is getting more practice. The heavier one is learning to accommodate to lighter opponents. Or is it a safety issue because, I was like, safety because he's
There
almost
are
100.
weight classes for a legitimate reason. There are reasons why people can't just go all willy-nilly into the ring, that there are weight classes, because it doesn't, I mean, the difference weight, the force, it increases the velocity with which someone is going to be hit, with the amount of mass behind that someone is bringing to the table. So it does pose a safety risk, and they do assess potential health risks involved in exercising. They have you consider safety in all aspects, because like I said, you for instance, if you were having, let's say this was an example, Miss Sauceda's kindergarten PE class is practicing their balancing skills. Which of the following activities would be most appropriate for her group? And there is one where they are doing a paired activity, a paired balance activity with a partner, walking back and forth across the balance beam, standing with one foot in place for 10 seconds, or something else. But if you have those three answer choices, having them do that paired activity, because there is a balancing paired activity that you can use, and the students have to like use their weights to try to balance and make the movements, or shapes, I should say. That's too advanced for kindergartners. They could hurt themselves, and they don't really have like the sort of abstract thinking to make sure that they don't hurt themselves. A balance beam, some schools do have balance beams, and some just have the ones that are on the floor. I would say even the ones are on the floor, I wouldn't even have them do those yet. Not when I need them to balance themselves on a flat surface before we're moving to any sort of anything, right? Because they're going to break their little ankles. They can't even stand on one foot if they can't even stand on one foot. So just assessing, because the things that we do are obviously not dangerous, or we wouldn't do them. But if we do them with the wrong students or in the wrong way, they can be dangerous. There's one very sort of like unknown sport in the TEKS. It's called orienteering. I mentioned it in one of the videos, and I had never heard of it before. So while I was doing the TEKS deep dive, we looked it up, and it's where students, it's like naked and afraid without being naked. Like the students have a starting point, and they have to get through the wilderness and go to all these different things only using a compass. And I didn't know things like that existed, or that was a sport in Texas, but apparently in some districts, that is a sport that they do. So there are a little bit of bowling is a sport that shows up on the exam. Tennis, of course, is a sport that shows up on the exam. But so there are some one-off sports that are there, and orienteering is one of those where you have to take safety into consideration, like when choosing your course, making sure that there's proper water, what to do if the students go missing. I didn't even know this was a sport, but obviously it wouldn't be you wouldn't put them in the middle of like a foreign country with just a thing. It's a course, they're safe, but there are other safety concerns. And like with any class, and especially PE, because your environment changes a little bit in PE, you have to discuss with students like certain rules, like what are the rules when we're gonna go out to the field right now and run laps. Different environments within your content area where you'll be doing activities dictate different expectations and safety measures for the students. So just keep that in mind. Depending on what activity it is that they're doing, there might be like the one that you mentioned. That's a huge liability. I mean, I'd be furious if my son got hurt because you paired him up with that guy. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's my little squinklet, my skinny little guy, and you're pairing him. Actually, he'd be very upset. He's the kind of guy that wants to try to fight upwards. But so yeah, I would say that that is an issue. The thing is with no, it just is an issue. Yeah. I was going to say in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when they train, but that's just when they're training.
But in Jiu-Jitsu, I think the training partner is more for the endurance, not so much to train.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
Like they like to train being on the floor with somebody on top of you for so long. So they put somebody just, like laying on you and you're just moving. They're not really fighting. They're just laying there.
Absolutely. There's that. You're not actually, it's not a match. Yeah. Fantastic. That was a great question. The importance of rules, discipline, procedures, and etiquette in physical activities and games. So you have to know the importance of it and what those different procedures and discipline is. But then we have to be able to teach the students what the rules are of the various games, and then what is the various like etiquette, and that's where and why you have so much emphasis in your TEKS on the building of self, because these physical activities in these games and sports activities lend themselves to teamwork, lend themselves to interaction, to disappointment, to frustration, and all of those are perfect. It's like a perfect environment to practice etiquette, like human etiquette, because nobody's gonna be good at everything all the time. So if you were good at the underhand toss, you might not be super great at when we get to overhand, or if you there's people have different strengths, right? But getting them to sort of navigate and increase their weaknesses, not increase the weaknesses, but strengthen their weaknesses. So navigate new things, difficult things sometimes for them. There were things that were difficult for me in PE. I didn't like to run long distance. I knew that as a child. I knew it in high school. I know it as an adult. I loved like sprinting, I loved sprinting activities. I loved tennis. There was just something about long distance running, and I just didn't know.
I couldn't do it either.
No,
I did sprint, I did hurdles, I did tennis.
Yeah, me too. And all of that, and I did the field activities, but I just couldn't do it. And I disappointed. Like, one of my coaches for something was also the long distance coach, and he'd say, "Come on, Sauceda, run." And I felt like I was letting him down, but I was like, I really just don't want to.
But you wanted me to run the mile. I was like, no, I can't run the mile.
I know, man. And they do crazy stuff. They do, oh my goodness, a lot. I wish I could, but I can't, and I don't want to. So, but getting them to at least try. You know, we all had to run. That's how we know we don't like it, because we all had to do it. So getting everybody to complete the mile, you know, but not everybody's going to run cross country. Not everyone's going to enjoy that particular physical activity, and that's okay. There are so many, and I think that's the important thing to remember about PE as you go through, is getting the students to understand that there are so many ways for us to get the physical activity. I didn't realize bowling was a sport, but man, I'm going to start bowling every week and tell people I exercise, because it's so fun. I really like it, and the kids like it, and it's exercise too. I mean, it can't be that much exercise, to be honest with you, but it is a sport, and it's in your teaks. So there are lots of that. What?
It's fun. It just breaks my nails.
Yes, well, I don't have any, so I'm good there, but it's so much fun. And that we want the kids to get excited, not about all sports, not about all physical activity, but just to find their little niche and understand that maintaining physical activity throughout life, it's not just like a suggestion, it's necessary in order for us to live like a long, healthy life. I've been sick, so I haven't been able to do much. What were you saying?
That we all need some type of physical activity.
Absolutely, all of us. And so like I said, I have been sick within the past year, and I haven't been able to do any real physical activity, but like I park the car really far away every time I do grocery shopping, like crazy far away. The kids are like, oh my God, Mom, are you kidding me? And I'm like, this is my walk right now. And I, you know, sweep and Swiffer the house and try to like increase my heart rate or whatever. But like, I used to be the tennis coach for the junior high that I worked at, and I used to like exercise a lot, and now I can't do like anything. So it's difficult, and all I keep on thinking is like that I'm losing out on, like, you know what I'm saying, like, oh my God, my cells, my longevity. It's going away. I'm gonna have to let you go to let in Miss Mata, but I'm gonna have them open it up for you. Continue with you know, like with the recommendations that I made, and then we will